Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars is a fascinating game. Nintendo contacted Square Enix to make what can only be described as just a Final Fantasy game starring Mario. Frankly, I don't know how big of a hit it was back in 1996, but when I played it on the Wii Virtual Console as a kid, I loved it. Just last month, an incredibly faithful remake was released on the Nintendo Switch, developed by Arte Piazza. The positive reception got me thinking, could a sequel to this game be made now, and how would it switch up things compared to the original? Today, I intend on answering that question. I do want to say I haven't come up with as much to change for a sequel, but I have a good reason. Super Mario RPG is kinda baby's first RPG when it comes to user friendliness, especially the remake, so I don't want to overcomplicate things too much when it comes to a sequel. Anyways, there are 4 categories to tackle in a sequel to Super Mario RPG: characters, battles, story, and overworld. Let's begin. The main reason I came up with the sequel idea is because I've seen so many people on Twitter talking about how they'd love to have Mallow and Geno back in a game. What better place for them to return than a sequel, right? Well, I personally don't think Geno should have too much of a major role in this game. I'm sorry. He could give Mario the mission that he embarks on in the game, or even be part of a special move, but I want to make room for new partners. I do think Mallow can return since he ended the game in Nimbus Land. He can now be King Mallow and be a late game partner who helps with new, more powerful abilities that he's learned in the time between games. Peach can return for the party roster, but I'm electing to exclude Bowser for reasons I'll get into in the story section. As for completely new characters, I think Gaz, the child from Rosetown, would be a great addition. He's the Toad from the previous game who owned the Geno doll. He could even be the one to have the Geno special attack. Finally, Luigi would be a fun character to add, since he missed out on the original game almost entirely. These 5 will be the main characters of the sequel. As for side characters, Frogfucius' student can return as the new head sage of sorts, and there's plenty of opportunity for new characters as wacky as Booster, Valentina, Jonathan Jones, etc. I also think including some newer Mario characters like Bowser Jr. or Princess Daisy could be a fun addition. With that, characters have been covered, and it's time to move on to the battle system. Battles will remain largely unchanged from the Mario RPG remake. Keep the different control options for A, B, X, and Y, as well as the triple moves from the remake. This time, however, a more complex move for each equipable weapon will be added. These are called legendary attacks and will utilize the L and R buttons. In the remake, all attacks have a chance of doing splash damage if timed correctly, where all enemies get hurt. In the sequel, splash damage will only be reserved for legendary attacks. As said earlier, these attacks will have multiple button combos. For example, the legendary attack for the glove weapon would have a sequence of button presses that go from R to L to A in timed succession. These are much more powerful than normal moves, but fail if any of the hits is not timed correctly. One other slight change is that first strikes from other Mario RPGs will also be added. They will be much easier to land due to something I'll talk about in the Overworld segment. I don't think there's much else to change about this fight system since it was already pretty much perfect for a simple RPG. With that, we're on to the story. The first game ended with Geno's mission completed and the Star Road restored. The opening of the sequel will be a flashback of someone making a wish. He wants to be as strong as Mario when he grows up. Little does he know that he'll be using his wish for wrong. Also, I'd like to leave who the villain would be up to you all again. I'll have another community poll after this video with 3 options. Someone from the original Mario RPG, an established Mario enemy or species, or an entirely brand new character. After the opening scene, we'll get a mirror of the original game's opening. Luigi is on the bridge to Bowser's Keep, running through the entrance. Once he makes his way to the throne room, he shouts at Bowser to let Princess Peach go, only to realize that Mario and Peach are tending to Bowser, who has a cold. Luigi sheepishly apologizes, and the 3 head back to Mario's pad. Mario then receives a message from Geno. who tells him someone is using the reward of their wish for evil, and that Mario needs to find out who they are. However, before they can get going, someone in a cloak arrives, defeats them all, and sends them flying, with Mario landing at Tadpole Pond. While there, Geno sends Mario another message and lets him and the new Frog Sage know that there are people all over the world who have wished to help Mario as thanks for his constant protection of them. Their wishes were to have something that would help Mario in the future, and Mario and gang have to find everything they wished for in order to defeat this new villain. That's just what I've come up with as an intro to the game. Plus, you wouldn't want me to write an entire plot and spoil it for you. With that, it's time to move on to the game's overworld. I have one big change in mind for the world of the sequel. Have the overworld segments from a different camera angle. I know the isometric view is a staple part of the original game, but something big must change for a sequel. Plus, this actually ties nicely back to Final Fantasy, as the Final Fantasy VII Remake games are doing something similar. However, I'm not just proposing a Mario Odyssey type game with a turn-based battle system forced into it. If I had to compare it to something, I would say Mario 3D Land meets the original Legend of Zelda. Large areas or levels are separated into rooms with entrances and exits, but their layout is more like you're looking into a diorama with minimal camera movement. This allows for more interesting and less frustrating platforming segments and more involved puzzles than the original game. And remember, the 3D Land comparison is just a comparison. It would play much more like the original Mario RPG. The look of this game is also something that belongs in this category. I'd like them to lean a little bit more into the clay aesthetic that was present in the original artwork. I don't want it as a gameplay mechanic like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. I just think it would help set the sequel apart while still linking it back to the original SNES game. Finally, let's discuss the world map. I think it would be a fun challenge to see what could be changed about the original map of Super Mario RPG for its sequel. First off, each area/room will be a little bigger, towns will have more houses, Mushroom Kingdom will have a grander castle area, etc. I think Mario's pad could also be expanded to have more room for Luigi, and Nimbus Land could maybe be multi-layered. As for major map changes, let's first approach Bowser's Keep. It will remain the same as it was at the end of the first game, albeit now completely repaired. It will be open for Mario and gang to explore while Bowser's out of commission, with his minions even having some shops. The first major change will be Booster Tower. After he married Valentina, Booster was dragged off to her new palace in Bean Valley. In the meantime, to add salt to the wound, Bowser let Bowser Jr. take over the empty tower, which has been redecorated. As just mentioned, Valentina has a new palace in Bean Valley, albeit much smaller than Nimbus Castle. She acts as a block to Nimbus Land for much of the game. In the south, Seaside Town has become home to a bustling water park. However, this is only because Jonathan Jones has disappeared without a clue to his whereabouts, with his former crew becoming employees of the Seaside Park. In the east, a railroad track was constructed connecting Moleville and Rosetown. The problem is that ruffians from Bandits Way, led by Croco and Bowsheet, sneaked into the Moleville mines and established a mafia-like control over the town just after Mario left Tadpole Pond. Finally, the forest maze is populated with much more jungle animals, including a few migrant Kongs, who are having trouble making their new home safe from spiders. With that, my concept for a sequel to Super Mario RPG is complete. Thank you all for watching this video, and happy holidays. My channel has grown so much this year, and all the support on the open world Mario video was a pleasant surprise, to say the least. I'm really close to being able to monetize my content, which is something I never thought I'd be able to say. And no promises, but I hope to work ahead on some videos to be released monthly at the beginning of 2024. Again, thank you all so much. Be sure to vote in the poll for this video, and I'll see you next year.